everybody. Welcome back to the I Play 2 podcast. I'm your host, Rob Adler. This week, golfer Billy Gneiser joins the show. In high school in Illinois, Billy was a first-team all-conference and second-team all-state player in golf, as well as playing both football and hockey. As a junior at Depaul University, he was part of the Blue Demon team that won the team title at the HCU Husky Intercollegiate event. And then as a senior, he shot a career-best 68 in the second round of the Big East Championships, and Billy ended his career as one of the top 25 players in school history in stroke average. His grandfather, Hockey Hall of Famer Stan Mikita, was a 9-time NHL All-Star, a 2-time Hart Trophy winner as league MVP, and is the Chicago Blackhawks franchise leader in assists, games played, and points. Also, Billy's father, Scott Gneiser, has been a caddy on the PGA Tour for the likes of Andy North, David Toms, and Jeff Sluman. Billy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. I have a question for you because your name has a big silent G at the front. How often has it been mispronounced?
All the time. First tee, even at some hockey games, whenever they announce like whoever scored the goal or whoever got the assist, they sometimes throw an L in there or say the G very strong, like Gneiser, or somebody threw Gneiser. It was pretty interesting, but it gets mispronounced all the time.
I can relate a little because my last name, sometimes people reverse the A and the L, so I get Alder more than I do Adler.
I have one buddy whose last name is Adler, and I've heard that before too.
So, your college golfing career has just ended. Is your goal to play pro? What's the plan for you for right now?
That's my goal. I definitely do want to play professionally, even though it's one of the hardest sports to make it at the highest level at. But throughout college, I didn't have the best career, in my opinion. I didn't play well at all. It was just a difference with transitioning and adapting with our facilities and stuff like that. But I know my potential, so I do want to give it a shot. I know I work very hard. I have a very strong work ethic, and I want to give it a shot.
With not having the academic side to deal with, do you think that enhances your chances of getting that shot?
Definitely, yeah. I'm still taking some summer classes, and I still have another year of school to finish. But once I finish that, I know it'll be a lot more weight off my shoulders, and I'll be able to play a lot more free, spend a lot more time practicing, and focus on the areas I want to work on. But that'll definitely ease up the tension a little bit.
In your view, what's the biggest area that you think you need to improve on with your golfing game?
Everything needs to improve a lot. First thing you got to do is get the ball in play. If I get the ball in play, I'm pretty much set. You could be hitting it well for a while, and then next thing you know, you show up to the course the next day and you're not hitting it good. You need to be able to get up and down. You need to be able to save par, maybe even chip in for birdie. That's how you score. But definitely off the tee with the driver, with the big stick. If I could straighten that out a little bit, I'd be good to go.
So, for people who aren't as familiar with golf, could you kind of walk them through about how you end up getting on the different tours of golf?
Most people played college golf. It's a lot different than other sports. There's no draft. There's no recruiting for professional golf. Anybody that plays golf, even for fun, you could be good, not good. You could say you're pro. But if you want to make it to the biggest levels on the tours, you have to go through Q school. So there's 3 stages. There's first stage, second stage, and final stage. And I don't know the exact number that makes it through each stage, but there's probably about 150 players each field, and there's only about 30 that make it through, if that. So it's very hard, and if you're inside that top 25 or top 30 at each stage, let's say first stage, you make it through to the second stage. And for the first stage, there's a lot of sites. Then it kind of narrows down once you get to second stage. There's not as many sites, not as many players. If you make it through second stage, you go to final stage, and there's only one place for final stage. But there's a lot of places that you can do it at. You can do it over here in America. You can do it over in Europe. It's a lot cheaper over in Europe, but there's a lot more options over here in America. You could do PGA Tour America's Q School, or you can do Korn Ferry Tour Q School, or you can do PGA Tour Q School. In Europe, there's pretty much just DP World Tour Q School. That's the only one that's over there. But like I said, it's a lot cheaper and a lot more convenient if you have everything planned out correctly. But it could get pretty hectic at times, and it's one of the most stressful times of your career if you're wanting to pursue professional golf.
Well, with the three stages, do those all happen like within a year, or is it a 2, 3 year process? How long is the process to go from stage one to PGA Tour Pro?
It can take years. You look at Scotty Scheffler, for example, it took him years to get to the PGA Tour. Another good example is Tony Finau. I think it took him 8 years to make it to the PGA Tour, but there's Q School that happens each year. And those three stages take place within a few months. So you have first stage. If you make it through first stage, I think it's like a couple weeks. And then you have second stage, and then same thing for final stage. There's a couple week gap. So if you're really good and you're playing really well, you have to play your best golf basically for about 3 months, which is hard to do with the game of golf. But if you can do that, then it won't take you as long to make it to a tour. But if you struggle a bit and you're pretty inconsistent, then it can take pretty long, especially if you stick with it. Most guys give themselves 4 years. And if not, then I'm just going to go into the real world and get a job. It can take a long time.
I didn't know that it was a lot cheaper in Europe to do it. Any reason for that you know of?
Not exactly sure. I mean, I was looking into it with one of my buddies that I play golf with almost every day. We practice together almost every day. And he brought the idea up to me about going to Europe for Q School. And he's going over this fall. I'm finishing up school, so I'll probably go over next fall. But he was talking to me about it. He was looking at the prices. Because if you do it over here, you're going to need $100,000 for 1 year. So you need to find sponsors, all that. But if you go over to Europe, you're going to need like $60,000. Definitely going to look into the Europe side of it because it's a lot cheaper, and definitely would want to experience the golf over in Europe.
And not only that, even though you are there for golf, you can become a little bit of a sightseer and go see a few places.
If we go over there, we would go over there a little earlier just to go explore a little bit, get the lay of the land, kind of by where we'll be staying, and go explore over in Europe a little bit. And then as it gets closer to our first stage, that's when we'll buckle down and start dialing in our games and try to peak at the right time. Golf's all about peaking at the right time. So it's not about grinding all day, every day. If you have a tournament coming up, you got to try to grind a week, week and a half before, dial in everything. And if it's feeling good, then you go play. But we'll try to go sightsee and all that stuff.
If you have, let's say, 3 places in Europe while you're there, what are the 3 places you're hitting up?
Number one's definitely my grandpa's hometown, Skolce, Slovakia. I mean, we'll probably be stationed in Milan, Italy, is where we'll probably be living. But anywhere in Italy, I would like to go see. I would like to go to Spain, like Madrid or Barcelona. I've had a bunch of friends that went and studied abroad, and they had a blast over there. So I would like to go see over there. And then I would like to go to Paris as well.
Don't sleep on Majorca either. I have a friend who is a huge fan of Majorca, and they have both great golf and unbelievable tennis as well.
Perfect. I'm going to note that down so I can go check that out too. Oh, another place I want to go see is Austria. I want to see the mountain range. My grandma said it's beautiful. So that's something else I want to be able to check out.
Taking a bit of a step back, how did your interest in golf initially start?
So I pretty much have played golf my whole life. I've always been interested in it, from my dad always bringing home golf clubs and telling stories about the golfing on the TV. We also live on a golf course. And so at nighttime, like when the sun would be setting, like we would go out there and chip and putt with my mom and my dad. And the interest in golf came from my mom, my dad, and my grandpa. After my grandpa retired from the NHL, he became the head pro at Kemper Lakes up in Kildare, Illinois. And like I said, my dad caddies on tour. He played college golf, and my mom has always been a competitive golfer throughout her whole life. It's just kind of been passed down in the family. I was always interested in it. I stopped playing it for a while. I got back into it, start of high school. But I stopped playing it because I wanted to focus on hockey, and then got back into it because I wanted to play on the golf team there. And it was kind of what kicked it all off again.
I read a story about the first time you beat your dad. Would you
Yeah.
mind sharing that?
We were at Cog Hill, I believe. And this was a long time ago, but I always looked up to my dad. Great player, and he would always beat up on us. He would always drive it farther than us. Obviously, we were little kids, and I started out pretty hot. I believe I started out with a birdie, and he would always talk some smack, and that got me going. And I was like, all right, this is the day I want to beat him. And I believe I closed him out on 16 maybe, but it was pretty much head to head most of the time, and it felt like we were even throughout the whole time. But I was ecstatic. My dad was ecstatic for me, and it was a cool moment.
Did that kind of stoke the fact that you're like, hey, maybe I could do this at least for college and get a scholarship?
I wouldn't say for college just because that was so long ago, and I was playing PGA Junior League at the time, and the kids that were on my team in PGA Junior League, all of us went and played college golf in Division One, and there were so many good kids that I was playing with and playing against. So I wasn't fully set on that yet. That thought didn't really kick in until my sophomore year of high school.
You mentioned, and I know you had played a little bit of hockey. How were you able to balance the hockey and golf?
Honestly, when I was younger, it was a lot easier than people think it is. That's pretty much all I did. And I would put my family first, then my friends, but hockey and golf at the same level as with my friends. So over the summer, I would skate only probably a couple times a week. I wouldn't skate too much just because it's summer off season and try to do other things as well. But say I skate 1, 2 times a week, and that'd be like morning, midday. And then the rest of the day, that's when I would go to the golf course and go play. I didn't practice as much back then because I wasn't that into the competitive golf. I mean, I still play competitive golf, but I wasn't into it as much. And summer was a lot easier to manage. During the winter time, though, that's kind of when I locked down golf and I focused on hockey. So I didn't have too much golf going on. I didn't travel too much playing tournaments just because I was playing travel hockey. We would have practice 4 nights a week, games in between practice days, but it was a lot easier to manage, even with school. School was the same time as hockey season. So I would just come home from school, do my homework, and then rest a little bit before a practice or a game. And golf season for high school took place in the fall. And I told my hockey coach, because we already had tryouts at the same time, like beginning of our golf season was. So I would go to tryouts and make the team, especially my junior and senior year. I told my coach this, and he was okay with it because I played for him the year before. And I told him my golf season, obviously, like I want to pursue this afterwards. There's going to be times where I might not make a practice or I might not make a game because I have a golf tournament the day of or the next day that I need a rest for. And I'm so thankful to have him as a coach. He was my favorite coach. Ron Zaker was his name, and he would be very lenient on that. It was pretty easy to be able to manage all of it while I was playing two sports at the same time.
Well, you don't share the last name of your grandfather. You did wear the same number. As we both know, in the sports and media world, things can travel kind of quickly. How hard was it once people made the connection to try to build your own identity on the ice?
It was a little hard at times. I mean, I tried not to put too much pressure on myself. I tend to put more pressure on myself with golf, not even related to grandpa's name or anything. But with hockey, word traveled really fast. Everybody that we played against, they somehow found out that he was my grandfather, and I would get chirped all the time. Like, oh, you're just a wannabe Stan Mikita, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm just wearing the number. I thought I'd carry the tradition on with wearing the number. And my grandpa always told me and my brothers, I don't care what you guys do. I just want you guys to have fun. That's what I always remembered. And I try to have as much fun with it as possible. But there were times where I'd get chirped from other teams. There were times where guys would be in awe of it because they thought it was pretty cool. But you didn't see that too often. It was mainly just me getting chirped from the other team, which is expected. But I was always pretty good at blocking it out. And I'd say I'm pretty quick-witted. So I would always say something back. And just like how my grandpa was in the beginning of his career, he was pretty feisty, had a lot of penalty minutes. But I would definitely say something back at them and shut them up a bit. But most of the time I would shut them up with my play. I would say I was a pretty solid hockey player and was able to show up with my play and shut them up with my play as well.
To me, your grandfather, obviously NHL hockey legend, but to you, he's probably just grandpa. So, away from the rink, what's a favorite memory you have of his?
I always looked at him as grandpa. I never saw him as like, oh, he's Stan Mikita, NHL legend. I didn't really see that until his public service for his funeral and wake at the United Center. there were thousands of people that came and paid their respects, and just hearing the stories, how he was as a player, as a person. That's kind of what I realized who he really was and what he meant to the city of Chicago and how everybody loved him. But one of my all-time favorite memories, it would just have to be us at the golf course. That would be our spot to go away from everything. It was awesome. We would just hit balls, chip and putt, and go play a few holes. We would play 3 or 4 holes max, and that's definitely some of my favorite memories that I carry with me always. And also the other memories too, just going to the United Center with him. He went to pretty much every game as he was an ambassador, and when we were young kids, we would go with him as well. So I've been to a lot of Blackhawks games, shared a lot of cool moments with him.
You don't realize things when you're a young kid because you just assume it's expected. But now that you're a little bit older, do you realize just how lucky you were to get to go to all those games and kind of realize just what your grandfather meant to so many?
I'm truly blessed and extremely grateful for all of it. The things that we would do when we would get to the United Center, we would park in the players' lot, see all the players walking in and go in the locker room. It was just expected. I mean, I was a little kid, so I thought that everybody else got that treatment as well until I got older and looked back, and I was like, we really got it pretty good when we went to those games. But even just the interaction with the fans, anytime he would sign autographs at intermission, or if there was a charity event that he would go to and sign autographs, we would always go as well. And at the time, I didn't realize it, but looking back, just seeing the people and how much they admired him, and it's pretty cool and special feeling to be able to have a grandpa like him.
I got to imagine walking into a locker room with Taze and Kane and Keith. Had to have been pretty cool.
It was awesome. Like, if I see Taser Kane nowadays, they'll still remember my face and my name, which is pretty cool as well. But seeing them, especially in their dynasty when they were winning the cups, looking back on that now, that was pretty cool. Kind of turned a blind eye to it then because it just felt natural. But looking back on it now, I was extremely blessed, and I'm super grateful for being able to have those opportunities and those memories.
You mentioned your grandfather in charity. He started a school for the deaf, which I know your family is still continuing. Would you mind talking a little bit more about that?
So 1973, him and Uncle Irv, they started a hockey school for the deaf and hard of hearing. And Irv, businessman in Chicago, knew my grandpa Stan, and he went up to him. He was like, hey, my son's deaf, as you know, but he's having a really hard time connecting with his teammates. His teammates are bullying him, making fun of him. So is there any chance that over the summer we could do like a school where we see however many kids that are deaf and play hockey from around the country, they want to come in and be able to feel at ease and feel accepted. And it's pretty cool to be able to keep the legacy going. It just kept growing, and it's been going on for 53 years. And I've been going to the banquets, dinners, interacting with all the hockey players and kids and families. And I've been lucky enough to volunteer a couple times, like I did this past week. And it was just an incredible time. So much fun. These kids are so happy. I talked to a couple of them, and the way they explained it, they said they feel at home being around kids that are also deaf and hard of hearing. So I also learned a lot from volunteering in it, just how to communicate with them and other skills in hockey that they use to communicate on the ice. And it's a very cool story, very great school and thing that's going on. And I'm going to keep doing my best to promote it and try to keep the legacy going. Kevin Delaney, he's the president of it, and he looked up to my grandpa when he was younger. He attended the school, and he runs it now, and he's doing a great job with it. And I'm going to keep trying to help out as much as I can, especially in the years to come.
Where can people go to go find out more information about it?
Social media or even their website. If you just look up AHIHA, AHIHA, and first thing that'll pop up is the Stan Mikita AHIHA Deaf and Hard of Hearing Hockey School. AHIHA stands for American Hearing Impaired Hockey Association. It's all U.S. born kids, all USA. I believe Canada has something similar to it. But for anybody listening that is deaf and hard of hearing or like has a family member, they play hockey, I would definitely look into it because it's an experience. It's hard to explain just because you have to be there to experience it.
I can somewhat relate because I have a very rare liver condition that I go into most doctors and they go, you have what? So when you're around someone who's similar to you, when you meet somebody who has something that, in my case, I do because it's so rare. It's kind of like these deaf kids who get to meet other people who are like them. It helps them feel a part of a community.
Totally. That's what it's all about. It's like I mentioned, Uncle Irv, when he went to Stan, like his kid, he was getting bullied and picked on his own hockey team during the regular season. And I'm sure that still happens all the time now. And it's sad. It sucks to hear about and hear stories about these kids getting picked on. They're no different. They're just like everybody else. But it's pretty cool to see them interact with each other and see them smile all the time and see how much fun they're having. And the parents, they enjoy all of it. So I know that all the kids, they feel very comfortable and at home with each other.
Oh, getting back to the golf hockey dual playing, when did you decide to fully commit to golf over hockey?
I would say I started leaning towards golf over hockey my sophomore year of high school. I went to state for the first time. I shot even par at sectionals to qualify for state. On the day that we played sectionals, it was playing pretty hard, and I finished in a tie for first. I lost in a playoff for first place, but I made it to state. I played decently well for how I played at the time. I placed 15th, and I was like, there's a bunch of other kids in this field that are seniors. They're committed to play Division I golf, and if I work really hard at this, I think I could do pretty well. So that's what kind of opened up my eyes to it a bit. But summertime, I was all golf, and then wintertime, I was all hockey. But then as the years went on, I started getting better and better, practicing more, and COVID hit, and all the courses were closed, couldn't play hockey. But I live on a golf course, so that course was closed. Nobody was out there. We had classes online. The hole that I live on turned into a range, and I would just practice all day, every day. My golf game grew tremendously from that, and people ask me about that all the time, and I was telling them, like, if COVID didn't happen, I don't think I'd be where I'm at today, just because that's what I did during the time. I practiced, dedicated my time to that. So that's what kind of made me flip the switch to focus on golf. It was hard to accept because I loved hockey. I still do. If I were to do it over again, I don't know. I still probably would choose golf, but I don't know what would have happened if I chose hockey, but I definitely would have loved to gone on to pursue hockey as a career. But I'm very happy with how everything turned out. But it was a hard decision to make, but I'm very happy with it.
With COVID, that kind of happened, I would assume, at the beginning of your recruiting process. So how did that affect your recruiting?
It affected it tremendously because school was getting called off, college season was getting called off. So kids would get an extra year of eligibility and really hurt the class that was one class older than me more than us. Because when COVID hit, it really affected us more of my junior year. Most coaches weren't recruiting that much that year because they still had kids on their roster that had another year because of COVID. So there weren't as many roster spots open. And so it was definitely a lot harder to land a spot somewhere. Luckily, I was playing very well in tournaments, so that drew attention from a bunch of coaches and was able to lock down a spot at Depaul. But it was a long process. It was a stressful process. But then I was like, okay, well, if this doesn't work out, I have hockey still. I can go play juniors in hockey. But I know my potential. The sky's the limit, I feel. So still feel like I haven't reached my potential at all.
What were some of the other schools that you were at least considering going to?
There were a few. Wisconsin, Butler, those were my final three. And Wisconsin was like the top one. Coach resigned. New coach came in and dropped all the recruits, which was a bummer because that's my dream school. So it narrowed it down to DePaul and Butler. There's a couple other like D2 down in Florida, which I was really interested in. I mean, golf's all the same. Like everybody's so good nowadays. It's all similar. But I definitely would have considered that too down in Florida for Division II at Florida Southern or University of Tampa. But we got a call from DePaul, and Marty Sheen was the coach there, and forever grateful to this day for him taking a chance on me. And those were mainly the schools that I was looking at.
You mentioned Florida Southern. I actually had the former baseball coach for them on my show a couple years ago. A guy named Lance Necro. His dad, Joe Necro, and his uncle, Phil Necro, were two very famous baseball players and actually faced each other in a game. One homered off the other, believe it or
No
not.
way. That's got to be one of the coolest stories. That's awesome. My brothers, anytime we play against each other, if we're just out fun playing, like it gets heated. So I could imagine how those two were feeling when one homered off the other.
You mentioned things getting heated. Are you guys competitive just on the golf course, or is it with everything?
Oh, it's everything. Not only just on the golf course, it's if we're playing darts in the garage, or when we were younger, we would play mini hockey in our basement here, and there was holes in the wall from us getting mad and checking each other into the wall and picture frames breaking. And we were so competitive with each other that we started a fight over like who's the first one to get the food to eat. So it gets pretty heated in our household, but that's what we live for, and how like both our parents were, and obviously my grandpa. So it's just passed down genetically.
Your poor mother with all the picture frames breaking and other things breaking, she must have gotten mad at you guys a few times.
It was more so my dad. I mean, these are all like my dad's picture frames and wraps all the way around the basement. So he would be the one that would be pretty upset with us. They're not cheap to frame, and they're pretty cool memorabilia that we got down here from most of his wins. So anytime we shatter one, it's like, okay, we got to stop. We got to settle down here.
With the three of you playing, and not just golf, in your case, hockey as well, how hard was it for your parents to get everybody to where they needed to be?
I honestly haven't talked to them about it too much, but I'm pretty good at analyzing it. Just recognize the sacrifices that they have made for us. It's just out of this world, the sacrifices that they have made. I was the only one out of my two brothers that played hockey for a long time. So I was the one that my mom was running around places the most. So I probably put the most stress on them when it came to that, because I was always on the go. I would have hockey practice and I have to be at a different place or have a golf lesson after that. But they definitely have made a lot of sacrifices throughout our whole lives. So I'm very grateful and will always appreciate that.
Growing up, was there a trip or something that you guys took all together as a family that you look back on and it makes you smile?
100%. I mean, there's two of them that I could think of, but we haven't gone on too many trips as a family. Just one, because my dad's always on the road for work, and I always had hockey or golf tournaments. But there's two trips that I always look back on. The first one was a family trip to Cancun, Mexico. We were there for like a week, and that was a blast. It was during the winter too, so it was nice to get out of the cold and go to warm weather, see the sun, get sunburnt. That was a fun one. But one trip that I will always forever look back on was my grandparents' 50th anniversary. It was in 2013. We went down to Turks and Caicos. It was right after the Blackhawks won the cup. Actually, the day we left was the day of the Stanley Cup parade, and our whole family was there. So it was my grandpa, my grandma, their 4 kids, and 9 grandchildren. So there was a lot of family there, a lot of family time. I'll never forget it because everybody was there, and that's one that I'll never forget. No golf was played, shockingly enough. But looking back at that trip, it always puts a smile on my face, brings back good memory.
Both sets of my grandparents had 50th anniversaries as well, and it's pretty cool when everybody comes in, because in my case, I was already working. So for me to get time off, especially that early in my career, was always a challenge. So when I hear that, because I know your parents and aunts and uncles had to all get time off to all coordinate to get there, you know how important it really is.
Totally. It's very important. I mean, especially for the 50th anniversary, like it was always a toss up with my dad because somebody needed a caddy. My dad always seemed to get a call from somebody. So just to have literally everybody there, it was pretty cool.
With your dad on the road a lot, especially on weekends, how was your mom able to, I guess, balance both mom and dad role while he was gone?
Oh, she's the very outgoing type, and she has no filter. So she says whatever that's on her mind, and she's not afraid to yell at us. But I give both my parents endless credit just for how they raised us, and especially with my dad on the road all the time. Obviously, with my mom being home most of the time, like she would yell a lot to have us behave and listen, and she definitely nailed it right on the head with that one and raised us the right way. But she did an incredible job. But she would also get help from like our babysitters and neighbors if we needed a ride somewhere. If she was taking one kid to one place, if we needed a ride somewhere, then our neighbors, our babysitters would help out, or even just other family friends. So she did a great job with it. It was definitely tough on her, and I give her a lot of credit and a lot of grace and thank you.
I know with your dad on the road, he caddied in all kinds of big events. Did you ever get a chance to travel with him to the Masters because it was during the school year?
I've never been to the Masters. It's always been a conversation that comes up every year, but I didn't really start going to those events unless they were like in town here. So like whenever the BMW Championship was at Cog Hill, we would go to that event. We would be at the course all day, every day of the week. We got to meet all the cool players, a couple cool stories with Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, and haven't gone to one this year yet, but last year we went up to Madison for the team event, and it's cool because all the guys on the senior tour, my dad grew up caddying for and was paired with them all the time, so they obviously know him very well, and they know that he has three little rascals running around at home, and so they see it on Facebook too, so they see us grow up through that. So it's pretty cool to go to the course and follow him along and see these big names that I grew up watching and to have them recognize me and my brothers. It's pretty cool. And just to be able to meet the guys too. It's awesome.
You mentioned Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson. What's a story that you have with either one of them that you like to share?
This was at the BMW Championship. I was young. I was probably 4 or 5 years old, 2008, 2009 maybe. Tiger's in his black hat, red shirt, black pants, black shoes, his famous Sunday red outfit. And we're in the locker room. My dad's taking off all his shoes and putting all his stuff in his locker, packing up from the week. And I go to the bathroom. I'm using one of the urinals, and I see like a shadow just kind of appear over me. And in the urinal next to me was Tiger Woods. And I'm just like, looking up. I'm just like in awe. While I'm going to the bathroom and wash my hands, go up by my dad, and Tiger comes over to us, says what's up. But I mean, I was so young, don't really remember too many things from that age, but that is one that I will always remember.
Well, I have a bathroom story too. When I was at ESPN, I walk in and I see Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh my gosh. Glass shatters as he walks in, and he had to have been huge.
At the time, he had just finished filming the This Is Sport Center commercial where Dan Patrick hits him in the back with a chair. And I'm a big wrestling fan. How he's there with an agent, and rather than paying anything to Steve Austin, I'm like, oh my gosh. And Austin's head like immediately drops. Like, oh no. And I look over and I'm like, hey, it's Dr. Tom Pritchard. And Pritchard starts cracking up, and Austin just looks at me and he's like, the star's over here.
That's incredible. That's awesome.
Getting back to you, we talked a little bit about golf tournaments here. Where has been your favorite place to play?
Junior golf, there was two tournaments I can think of. One of them was here in Chicago on Wentzia Club, and it's one of my favorites. I love that course so much, so that was cool to play there. Just an old course with a lot of history. But another one was an AJGA I played in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and that was in beginning of August, I believe, or end of July. So it was hot down there in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but it was cool because that was my first time fully traveling to go play somewhere in a golf tournament, just to be able to experience that. And actually, the kid that won it, he ran away with it, was Ryder Cowan, low amateur at the U.S. Open this year. But when I got to college, the college level, I would definitely say hands down, it was at Torrey Pines in San Diego. We did back-to-back tournaments, but we played different courses. Last year was a little iffy with the weather. It was like a little colder and foggy with it right on the water and the front coming in. But we played South last year, the U.S. Open course, and that course tore me to shreds. I was not hitting it good at all. So if you're not hitting it good, good luck. Good luck breaking 80, because I didn't break 80. This year we were at the North course. I like the North a lot better. Maybe it's just because I had a better experience on it, but I thought the views were a lot cooler and the weather was great. I loved it out there, and playing golf, it was so cool to be able to do it with some of my best friends on my team and the coaches as well. It was so cool. So I'm very happy I played pretty solid there. Out of every place, San Diego was probably one of my favorite spots to play.
Oh, I love San Diego. I could talk San Diego till I'm blue in the face. I got to ask you, did you have a chance to go to Seal Beach, do the glider port that's right next to Torrey Pines?
We didn't go to the glider port this year, but we went over there last year. It was packed. Like everybody was over there having some cocktails, and we went down the stairs right there that goes down to the beach. But we didn't know it was a nude beach. So we got down there. We were like, what is going on right now? And then this year we went and saw all the seals. sea lions over at the beach over there, which was really cool because it's been an ongoing meme this year with all the sea lions. Both years we went to TaylorMade's headquarters, which was probably one of the coolest parts of the trip because this place is pretty exclusive, very expensive to get a fitting there, and we got treated like we were a professional tour player. And Darren Clark was there this year, so it was cool to see him and be able to catch up with him because I've seen him around from when I go to the senior tour events. But both those trips, both years were just so cool. Because that was our spring break. We were there for like a week, so it was just a great time and something I'll always remember.
It's about 15 minutes away from Torrey Pines. Did anybody take you over to the sandbar to have the TKO taco, the best taco of your life?
No, we went to this place. It's kind of right by the base over there. Gosh, why am I drawing a blank on the name? But it's like a little hole in the wall. And anytime I see a place like that, that's where I want to go. They have the best Mexican food ever. And this burrito I got, it was like the supreme burrito. And you get a prize if you finish it all. And luckily, we just got done with our tournament. We went over there because we were going to go walk around downtown on our couple off days. So, of course, I wolfed the whole thing down. I got a little prize and a picture, and this burrito was ginormous. I've never seen anything this big before, and it had to have been a foot long, maybe a little longer than that, and it was just stuffed with everything in there, and it was bigger than a football, that's for sure.
You're going to have to send me a picture of that thing.
I'm going to. It was incredibly big.
So when you look back at your time at Depaul, and we just talked about San Diego, so excluding that, what other things will you miss going ahead? Will it be the actual tournaments? Will it be the camaraderie? What will you miss the most?
The tournaments definitely I'll miss the most. I mean, I love competing, so that's something I'm definitely going to miss. But I would definitely say interacting with all the other student athletes as well. Not only just my teammates and hanging out with them, but there's not too many student athletes at DePaul because we don't have all the sports. So there's like 200 something athletes and everyone knows each other. Everybody says hi to each other. Everybody talks and hangs out. And that's something I'm definitely going to miss. Just the camaraderie and chemistry that everybody has at DePaul. It's like a big family. And that's something I'm definitely going to miss.
Did you get to learn about the DePaul basketball history while you were there?
Oh,
About
yeah.
45, 50 years ago, they were pretty good.
Gosh, you talk about guys like Rod Strickland. I was at Rod Strickland's jersey retirement night, and that was pretty cool to see that. But those guys come into our facility quite often, too, and talk with all the student athletes. And we had a new golf facility this year, so there was always a bunch of people popping their heads in, and those big names popped their heads in a few times. And it was pretty cool to be able to meet them and talk to them about their time at DePaul. And those guys were a powerhouse. They were unbelievable at basketball, and pretty cool to hear all the stories on that and talk about that. And I'm excited to see the future of DePaul basketball because Chris Holtman will do a pretty good job.
You mentioned meeting big names, and I'm going to talk anywhere in your life. Who do you think is the biggest name that you've met?
Tiger Woods is up there. Michael Jordan's another big name that I've met. Wayne Gretzky, Bobby Orr, Mark McGuire. That was pretty cool. He's huge. Lee Trevino. He's one of the cool ones that I met. He's awesome. I've met a few actors. Like I met Bill Murray. I've met Michael Phelps, George Lopez, Justin Timberlake. Gosh, I've met a lot. Been very fortunate enough to be able to meet all these big names and say I've been able to talk to them for a little bit. So it's pretty cool.
I need to hang out with you. I need to meet more big names.
Connor Bedard's a cool one to meet too because he's like the face of the NHL. Met a lot in 2017 in LA at the All-Star game because that was the 100th year. And Sidney Crosby, Alex Ovechkin, Austin Matthews, Pavel Datsyuk, all those guys. It's pretty cool.
You mentioned Michael Phelps. I had his sister on my show back in 2023. She was a swimmer as well.
That's pretty cool to have her on the show. One of the biggest names in U.S. sports history right there.
Obviously, your career is just starting once you go through Q school next year. But when you look back at your sporting career thus far, what do you say that sports has given you?
God, that's a great question. I've done a lot of interviews. I've never been asked that before. And that's probably one of the best questions I've ever been asked. Just the outlook on everything else. But that's what it's given me. Just how grateful I should be and how grateful I am where sports has brought me and what it's given me, what it's taught me. I met a lot of cool people, but I've also met some of my best friends through sports and learned a lot of things, a lot of life lessons, how to carry myself, how to act, how to behave, and how to be a professional at a young age. And obviously growing up with my dad being a pro caddy and my grandpa playing the NHL, like I was also taught that at a young age too, but also that was through sports as well. And I'll always be thankful for the people that I've met through the sports that I've played, all the life lessons I've been taught. Because that's something I noticed through every sport that I played. All of my coaches, I think in their eyes, it's most important for them to develop us as a person. And it's almost as like a second parent. Like our parents want to raise us to be really good kids and behave our best. And that's something that coaches also strive to achieve. That's some of their goals to achieve with their players, that they want to raise them and teach them how to be a good person and behave the right way. And so that's something that I think sports has taught me. Never take it for granted. And I'm always going to be thankful for.
When you look ahead in 10 years, and not necessarily just from a professional standpoint, but a personal standpoint as well, where do you see yourself?
I'll be 31, 32. So I see myself hopefully playing on the PGA Tour with a few wins, hopefully a couple majors, but that's the long run. And I'm a big family guy, so I would hopefully see myself with wife and kids at that time and raising a beautiful family. That's the end goal right there. But also with something that'll be able to support me throughout the way, whether it's a job or me playing golf or teaching, whatever it is. I mean, that's where I want to see myself in 10 years.
Billy, I want to thank you so much for coming on the I Play 2 podcast today. Loved hearing stories about golf, going to San Diego, your grandfather. Thank you so much. Good luck with your last year of school and wherever your golf career may take you. Thank you again, man.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.